It was early in the morning, threw on the running shoes, and it was time for action. I was out, and it was training time. I was living in Sydney. I'd just been selected in the North's first grade rugby side, and had this dream. I always dreamed of being able to play professional rugby. So in my mind, I had this goal. I was attached to this goal. I was gripped to it. This was my dream. I knew I could do it. I was so focused, I decided I had to be the fittest. As the open side, I had to be the fittest and fastest. So I set my goal, I set my training program, and I had my running shoes on, and I was off that morning. There was a hill just by where I lived, where I ran down this hill in native bush, ran up it. That day it was 12 times I was going to run up and down, and that was my goal. After 8 times, I was completely spent. And I kept reminding myself, my goal, this is my goal. This is what I've got to do, this is what I want to do. And I pushed myself, almost fighting my body. One of the key things was I had this mindset, and I kept fighting. Fast forward a couple of months, it was pre-season training, and we were doing our first contact workout. We had these pads. They were clothing that we put on, big pads, so we could do contact without getting hurt. And it was pre-season, and I remember clearly the first time we had full contact, and 2 people came for me, and they both hit me at the same time. And we weren't wearing boots. I was in running shoes. It was pre-season, the ground was hot. Got hit, went flying back. And that's all I remember, other than waking up in hospital. I landed on the back of my head and was knocked out. Had 2 months of headaches. I thought my dream was over. The key lesson from that moment and that story that I've shared, listen to your body. When I'd ran up that hill 8 times and I was completely, had no strength, and I then started fighting the body, then I started to, over a period of weeks, lose belief in and connection between, I had it fixed in my head and my body wasn't there. So the first lesson for me is listen to your body. And I want to take you this few minutes as this journey from head and being fixed on certain things to heart and emotions. So I want to take you back now in this journey to a 17-year-old. As a 17-year-old, finished school, packed up a car, off to university. As a naive kid from a farm out in Methven in the middle of the South Island, didn't really know anything about life, didn't have many skills, heading to university. The first few months into it, exams. What if I fail? What do people think of me? Do I have any friends? Do people really like me? Do I actually say hello to these people in the hallway? Or all of these things started to go through my head, doubts. And I wasn't sleeping at night. Woke up with started experiencing anxiety, which is something that I've never come across of. And got unwell with just the sheer scaring yourself of life and a naive kid that didn't understand life. Soon after that whole year was a real challenge and a real test. soon after that, I did a course by John Kehoe about mind power. I started to learn to think positively, and how positive thinking can control and create your future. So I learned to turn everything into a positive and start really positive thinking. So for 10 years or so, I was reasonably successful, reasonably happy, and then the next big lesson. I turned everything into a positive, and I didn't realise that what I was suppressing. It was at a retreat, and it was a course on self-development, and we did this meditation in that group, and all of a sudden I discovered hidden away was huge anger, resentment, and just all this anger I didn't even know it's there. Because by turning everything into a positive, I'd suppressed emotions that were negative, and all of a sudden there's this huge unknown stuff inside me that I didn't know about. So the big journey of opening up another part started. One thing I did was I went to a men's anger group, which most people that were there, this was again in Sydney, were there because the court had sent them to tap into their anger. So, group of men sitting in the room, had a table, had a boxing bag at the front, and a baseball bat. That's scary. So we all had a turn, stood at the front, and I had to say how we felt. At the time, I was a sales manager of a Sydney company with 20 staff, and the owner of the company used to go around yelling at us all, or here's to the rooms and nothing, yell at me. So I so clearly remember it was my turn, I was saying, my boss is. And this is what we did. We were really connected with the rage and bang, hit the boxing bag, and said exactly how we feel. This is probably pretty funny now, but at the time it wasn't funny. It was just connecting. So there's a whole opening inside of emotions which was unknown. And this is the second and most incredible part of the journey, to tune in to really what the ticket says. Because emotions are like a muscle. If we don't have a full expression of different emotions, or don't use that full expression, then they're like muscles. We don't have a fitness, we don't have the capacity to be at different ranges of emotion. So by doing various things to express and know it's okay to feel less than happy, and the sadness and tears and all sorts of, then you have an emotional fitness and an emotional scale, which is what it's all about. So the key message of this journey is, when I was so in the head by being positive, I couldn't be vulnerable. I couldn't admit, I'm not very good at that. Or could he help me with that? Or because when I'm in the head and in that just positive space, I couldn't admit mistakes. I just didn't feel like I either was worthy or was good enough to. That was one major observation. The other, I always spoke through the head. I was so aware of what was happening around me, what other people were thinking, and what people were doing, that I would talk, and it's all a facade. I would talk and say what people wanted to hear, pretty much. And as I spoke, I was processing it, so there was lots of ums and ahs. And there was just a different voice from a different place because I was processing it. Whereas more recently, as I've connected to a different place here, I find that I speak from here in a different way. And the other major thing is that the observation of the change is that from here, if somebody is rude to you or something occurs that previously from the head I would sort of start analysing and be worried about, it's a feeling like, okay, that's their issue or that's their problem, and it's less attached to, there's always a sensitivity, but there's a less concern about what everyone thinks. It's the observation from moving from here to here. And the last bit is, it's about integrating, and there's an important place for here, the body, and listening to it in activity, and then listening to the emotions and following the intuition and following different senses. Because true happiness and true contentness is having that balance, having emotion, and being okay when you make bad stuff up, and being okay to admit that, being okay to be vulnerable, being okay to admit you don't feel great, and being authentic and being real. So, a final thought to wrap up this is, we all have ups and downs and things that hold us back. But if we can tune into what our biggest passion is, what our heart desires are, and follow our dreams and overcome the many obstacles that get thrown in our way, that challenge us, and have techniques to keep us focused and listening within and following our heart, then that's the key to living our dreams and truly being vibrantly alive and passionate. And final quote be from Steve Jobs, and that was, have the, I was going to say guts, there's no word with guts, he said, have the courage to follow your heart and your intuition. So I hope maybe we can challenge any of you there, if there's something that you've dreamed about that you haven't quite done, follow your heart and go for it. So thank you. Any questions? You're stunned.
First, I just want to say thank you for your courage and honesty and openness in sharing this with us. I believe it's not an easy thing, especially for men in society, to express broken mental health jokes like this. Just want to know, in your personal experience, what in our culture are some of the obstacles, especially for men, to to kind of behave or connect more like what you're doing now?
It's a stereotype. We've always been taught, take it like a man, you've got broad shoulders, and I guess that's a stereotype in males in general, and it depends perhaps who you hang out with, who your friends are, perhaps to how much you follow that. But I believe it's changing. More and more sports people are showing emotions, and there's a awareness shift in consciousness, and there's definitely some interesting things happen to make a difference. But thank you for that comment. Appreciate
Just, I'm a rationalist, so I'd like to challenge you on Steve Jobs.
Please do.
If he followed his intuition, if he didn't follow his intuition, he'd be alive today. Basically, he walked out of the system of modern medicine and he went into the whole holistic thing, and he died because of it. The thing is that if your intuition is wrong, and it's not based on science, you're just going to lead yourself into a trap. And the other challenge I'd say is that a lot of people that are very passionate and very emotional driven are some of the most dangerous people you can ever meet. The thing being is to have your emotions in check, to keep them under control, and to actually channel them is the most, basically the most, it's the safest way to live, and it's the most productive way to live. Most people who are very productive, they are very channeled, so they can actually filter all their emotions and filter it through their mind and their frontal lobes, and then people that haven't got that capacity because of brain damages, because of alcohol fever syndrome, because of trauma, and they are very reactive, they're very childlike, and they're dangerous. So sometimes it's a yin and yang thing.
Yeah, and everybody can form their own opinion, and I'm not suggesting that I know the answers and you follow this way. I believe in following your emotion and understanding your emotions, and I'm not saying you're erratically emotional. I'm saying about being real, and a lot of males can't be real and aren't aware of their deeper emotions, and a lot are. But I'm saying for me, life is more satisfying if you're aware and express and honest.
Just like she said, I'm really happy and really glad that you shared that with all of us in strength as well, so thank you. I would agree with you that understanding your emotions is a really, really good place to start in terms of finding happiness and finding, what can I change in my life. One thing I'm really curious to know about is you're saying listen to your body in a sense of training for a marathon or whatever. So when your body is saying, ouch, my feet hurts, but your mind is saying, no, you need to finish that boundary, where do you say, yep, this is enough? Or where do you say, no, I'm not going to listen to my body yet, I'll push on a bit further? So how do you decide that?
That's something very interesting. There's a really good book called Mind, Body and Sport, and because I've been interested in this for many years and a lot of study, and it's a difficult question, but I'm believing so you get the balance. Some of the new techniques that have been used by Olympic athletes and top tennis players is to really tune into the breath and push yourself in tune with your breath. And there's a specific type of breathing, which if anyone's interested, I can give you details later on going into it now. But there's a real balance, because otherwise you might not do anything. You sit on the couch all day and you think, my body's too tired, so I'm not going to do anything. TV's great or something. So yeah, it's a tough one, and it is a fascinating one. That isn't really.
I'll be keen to get that reference off you.
Yeah. Wow. Thanks. All right. Well, thank you